All right. So, okay, let's do a rundown. We're 20 minutes late as to what we're even going to talk about today. We This is our first stream of the year. You're joined by Nav,
Happy
and
2025.
yeah, happy New Year's, everybody. So I have a little bit of a rant. It's a long rant, and we're gonna ask Annette to not interrupt me while I go through this rant, which I'm sure
Okay.
will fail. Uh,
Wow. Ouch.
which will fail, undoubtedly. So I have a little bit of rant, and it's like not a rant. Like over the last 7 streams, I've mentioned majority of this stuff.
I bet if we
There you go.
counted up how many words I
Number
say
one.
and how many words you say, it would be wildly in your favor.
80%. 80% my
Probably.
way. Yeah. Well, listen. Again, this is where I've asked you what topics you want to do, and you don't pick a topic. And I always pick a topic because this is the topic that I want to talk about, right?
It falls
So
right into the statistic about how men think they speak so much more, so much
it's
less
right
than
there.
women,
It's
but
right there.
it's actually the opposite. But go
Right.
ahead. I won't interrupt you. I'm sure what you have to say is very important.
Well, I'm just doing a rundown. I haven't even gotten to my speech yet. So okay.
Did you share
So
what your tequila was? I'm sorry.
I've already sent it to you. It's the one that I said it's called Tears of Lorona. Uh,
Okay.
well, I'll show you guys the bottle afterwards if you guys are curious. And I don't even know if anybody drinks in my stream, anyways. But I know Cass doesn't, and you obviously do. But you already know what the tequila is. Uh, where
You
where
didn't have to say obviously.
all right. You know what? I'm gonna let that go. So I have a rant. I have a rant, and I'm gonna get it out. And it's nothing crazy. It's kind of what we said over the past 7 streams. I've sort of repeated it multiple times, um, and nothing controversial. I don't think, at least. I'm just gonna say, like, the reality is the way I see it. This is very opinionated, but I'm gonna try to make it nice, and try to actually get through my thinking of like where we are, or where we were, how we got there, what happened in the past, and where we are now, and the problems with America, and over the past, especially with the immigration issues, the H-1B visas issues that were a hot topic last week, and all that's kind of washed away with all these incidents happening just the last 2 days. But every video that I watched of that, um, either was just extremely racist towards South Asians, mainly Indians, uh, or it took one of two sides, right? Like one was like, well, you need higher talent in America, and then the other was, well, no, there is talent in America. We just need to be paying them more. It's all about money. And even though it was like pitted against each other, they were not two sides of the same coin, right? Like those are the same side of the same coin. Like they're not a race issue, they're not anything. It's a class issue. That's what a lot of people didn't really understand, and didn't really explore too much of it. And then another thing was that whole visa issue is indicative of a bigger problem in America, and nobody's talked about like how to fix that, right? Like everybody's what's my biggest problem with Trump is this anti-immigration policy, right? Like that is such a negative policy for your economy to have, not for like the obvious reasons, but like for the future of the country, right? People are a commodity. The U.S. doesn't produce anything. We buy talent. We cultivate talent here, and so that's something I'm gonna talk about later on. But uh, I'm gonna start with we are really at a crossroads right now. Like this, especially this coming administration, um, and that we also have a little segment on that, uh, which Annette's gonna get to talk about. But we are really at a crossroads, and I don't really say that in a light manner, right? Uh, America, the way an immigrant, because I am an immigrant, like the way I understand America, and then this is gonna try to where this is very opinionated. America has always been portrayed as a land of big dreams and actions, right? Like that's what we see America as, and this "Make America Great Again" thing. When people say that, when I hear that, what I think about is just right after World War II, the Great Depression, and then all the way up to like the space race. America's faced many challenges that could have broken it down, but they've come out stronger, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And people in this country have an issue with history. They don't really understand history well. We forget very fast, and and it's gotten much worse over the last, I would say, 20 years, just for many reasons. Social media being obviously one of them, and the advent of technology. Uh, but from then to today, what's happened is too many people are feeling left out and are being left out, and are being left behind. Um, and when you just look around, when you understand like what happened from that period to now, make America great again sounds, you understand like like at least I understand like what people mean by that, right? But like people don't understand what they mean by that. People don't understand like what how you get there, because nobody talks about that. People think like, oh well, we're gonna make America great again by getting rid of people. Well, no, this doesn't it won't. It just won't make you better. Like that just won't help you. It in fact it's only gonna harm you. The reason why, right? Uh, the wealth gap is bigger than it has been in generations. Our roads, schools, bridges are falling apart. Uh, People are working harder than ever and still struggling to make ends. Everybody keeps saying the economy's doing great, economy's doing this, but why people aren't feeling it? Because of course, people really aren't feeling it. No matter, you could say whatever numbers you want to say, um, but at the end of the day, it's like what how you feel when you go to the grocery store, how you feel at the gas station, right? Like that's why these issues are important. um and one of the biggest thing, the trust American people have in our institution, in our government, whether it's Congress, whether it's the Supreme Court, whether it's the presidency, at all these federal level agencies, the EPA, the FCC, FTT, the state governments, the people don't have faith in them, right? It's very low, lowest it's ever been, especially for the Supreme Court, which is really supposed to be this pillar, because they stay there for a long, long time. They're supposed to be the ones that see and safeguard us against all these institutions. Not even the president. It's the job of the Supreme Court, and and the unethical issues that have been coming out of there are insane. But we didn't get here by an accident. Like that, those feelings didn't just magically appear. Um, when Trump came into office. Those have grown, have been festering, um, and it's because of the choices America's leaders have made about wars, about our economy, and what we invest in. Um, that all that has brought us to this point. But I don't think it's all negative, right? The next 4 years are going to be tough. At least, again, very opinionated. I hope they're not, but they are going to be. Um, we're we're leading into this very crucial part where we're going into the next chapter. You do see administrations as the next chapter and thing. I don't see Biden's is as much as that, even though he's done an okay job. But Trump's first chapter and this chapter are going to be much bigger chapters than Biden's. Biden's going to, I feel like, is going to be one of those like, oh well, he was the he was the president that was supposed to stop Trump. It didn't happen. He stopped for 4 years, but that's about it. He's going to go down in history, probably like much like Jimmy Carter. It's just what's going to happen. Even though he might have done a great things to coming out of COVID and everything like that, but he's going to go down as Jimmy Carter, and then we're going to have this whole thing where we're going to talk about like, oh, how good of a president was he? But Trump's going to overshadow him, just like Jimmy Carter was by Reagan.
Yeah.
But what we first have to understand, like how we got here, right? And then we have to look at the foundations. We really, and for me, like I said, when we talk about make America great again, I'm looking at the 30s, right? Like right as the war was starting, we're going through the Great Depression, and the Great Depression, people always think about it as like an economic issue. It wasn't. It was much worse, and it was a humanitarian crisis. That's what we have to understand. People were losing homes, banks were failing, unemployment was going up, um, people were lining up for food. that they couldn't afford. People couldn't even afford bread at that time, right? Um, and this is why FDR is probably one of the greatest presidents this country has ever seen. Um, and what is FDR known for? FDR didn't just sit back. He didn't wait for things to get better. He understood that bold action needed to be taken. He had the political courage, right? This is kind of what we've been lacking ever since then. And we kind of saw it a little bit with Obama when he came in, with the financial, the housing crisis. But I feel like he didn't take enough actions, and he needed to take more actions to really steer this country to the future. He did enough, but just didn't do more. The New Deal wasn't just a set of policy; it was a lifeline. He FDR understood that. People understood that. All the programs that came out of it put millions of people to work. Right? And they built roads, bridges, schools, park. They jump started the middle economy. They jump started the lower economy. Um, Social security, labor protections, minimum wages. Uh, the idea behind FDR was, or his whole thinking mentality was, if you work hard, you deserve a fair share, right? Uh, and it works. It worked. Yes, the war helped. Fast forwarded to the 40s, after World War II, the entire world was destroyed. The only manufacturing industry left was the American. After the Great Depression, millions of people either went to war, or millions of people built the uniforms for people to go to war, built the tanks for people to go to war, built the guns for people to go to war. Women went to work, right? Um, that that allowed for the churning economy to get going. We had innovation coming out of those, and the rest of the world looked at America because this is the only country that came out. Even though, if you look at World War II history, um, and I might probably get hate for this, but even though America did a lot, but we don't really hear about like how much the other countries did, right? Russia was just a giant fighting off Nazis. You look at what Russia did, what all these other countries did, and America came in and really really made a difference. But we don't really hear about the other countries, but America was left standing. There was really no other country. America after the 40s and the 50s was truly a polar beast compared to it. Even today. People try to compare Russia to America. You can't. You can't. Uh, just last year, the GDP of the United States was somewhere around $24 trillion. You know what the GDP of Russia was? $2 trillion. You can't compare. Like the economic levels is just insane. The only reason people ever even mention Russia or even talk about Russia is because of the Cold War, and because of its size, and because of the size of the military. Right? It was the next thing. Like it was like, oh well, this is the thing that's trying to catch up to the U.S. It was nowhere near, but it was the thing that was trying to catch up to it. But after the war, we built everything in this country that you probably see a lot of it today. Um, uh, Millions of veterans buying homes, going to colleges, starting businesses. We built the highways, we expanded schools, public schools. We invested in research, in medicine, technology, energy, name it, healthcare. All that. Unions were strong. Um, Workers got their fair share. Uh, a single family member, single parent could work in a factory and afford to buy a house, and feed their family, and prosper. Um, Even though that wasn't, a little bit of my rant is going to be a lot like very broad strokes. Obviously we can talk about how the prosperity wasn't shared equally amongst Black Africans, African Americans, I mean, Black Americans, and women and minorities and other marginalized groups were often left out. The whole segregation, housing discrimination, unequal pay, all those were very real. But if you were looking at America as a global economy, it was thriving. All right. Um, Now, this is where it kind of, this is where from the 40s to the 50s to the 60s to the 70s, this America did see this boom, right? Like we were seeing this, even though it was starting to slow down. Where I personally think is where issues start to arise is probably around the 80s, after Jimmy Carter. Um, Somewhere along that period, I think we lost the plot, we lost the vision. uh, Cutting taxes for the wealthy, deregulating industries were creating a rising tide, that wasn't lifting all boats, right? Uh, and those policies, we could just see the effects now. Uh, the top 1% of Americans now control more wealth than the bottom 90 combined. Um, CEO pay. We do, Jackson. We do. Um, we do need another Roosevelt, somebody with political courage to do the things that need to be done, right? But the CEO pay has skyrocketed from 1978 by 1,200%. That's an insane amount. That's an insane amount. In one of the episodes, I think either was last week or week before that, we talk about the understanding that sometimes enough is enough. Like, right? How much more can you really do with $100 million to $800 million? How many elections can you really? You know what I mean? Like at that point, it's that. Like that's what you're doing with that much money. Like there's nothing that expensive out there. Like, are you really going to be that much more comfortable on a bigger yacht, like when you already have like a 500-foot yacht? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense. It's just greed at that point. um Even though the CEO page has gone that high, wages for normal people haven't kept up with inflation at all. Unions have been broken, unions have been dismantled, systematically, I would say systematically been weakened. uh have gone overseas, which has contributed to cheaper, in search of cheaper labor, and has contributed to weaker unions. Communities have been hollowed out because of that. I remember in my undergrad, for one of my classes, I went to go see a lecture by a professor who was examining the effects of just that on minority housing and minority communities, right? Like where you have this factory that's feeding this entire town. Detroit is probably a perfect example of it. Leaves, um, and then you have all these families' jobs just ruined, and how drugs move into that community, how poverty moves into that community, and it kind of just creates this negative, insane cycle that you just can't get out of, right? Because then once drugs are introduced into community, then we need to have more policing to police that community. Then once more policing is there, then we have more crimes being found, because that just makes sense, right? Like uh, uh, found in that, and then it's just a cycle that just keeps going, 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 going. Um, and I'm sure everybody's heard of the economist Richard Wolff. Uh, he's called this phenomenon economic disenfranchisement. The system is designed to create concentrate wealth and power at the top, leaving everyone fighting for scraps, because that's just what happens. It's just that's what trickle down economy is, right? Like it's in the name. It's just those scraps leaving, uh, getting to the bottom, and people fighting for those scraps, trying to make it, while the richest have hoarded. Um, the richest 1% have hoarded all the wealth, more wealth than the 90% of the people combined. Um, uh, and another one of those things, another one of these horrible policies I think we could talk about is the war in the Middle East, right? That has wars in general, are costly. They're not just costly in terms of um, lives that are lost, but it costly in terms of the negative impact it has on every single family member associated with those people, right? Like we can also talk about the dollar amount that obviously is lost, but on the wastage that goes around, that goes on with wars, for what, for nothing. What what freedom were we fighting in Iraq? We weren't. um I think there's a crazy number. I think since 2001, uh, the United States has spent $8 trillion on wars. Right? Imagine all that money just being used inside the United States, um, building roads, building bridges, building housing for people, building better structures for people, building better colleges, education. Sending people to school. With that amount of money, you could do it. You could do it. Uh, and wars have just created more wars, created more power vacuums, destabilized entire regions that have led to extremism. That's not a crazy thing to say. That's not a far fetched thing that people um, can't understand. If you go to a country and then you bomb the shit out of it, of course people are gonna like, why the hell are you bombing me? Like, it's just those feelings fester. It's just the exact same thing happened with 9/11, right? The towers fell down, and then people immediately had hate and like, what the hell did you happen? Why did these innocent people have to die? Like it's same thing happens over there. Like, why did a bomb just get dropped and murder my entire family? You know what I mean? Like, I had nothing to do with this. um uh, so it's just this need for military dominance, and being the military, having military dominance as your main policy to try to police the entire world. It just doesn't work. Like, there's just a name for it. It's called being a bully, and it just never works. And we're the ones, that are always teaching, like, don't be a bully. It's not a good thing. Um, it's just nonsense, and it's not something new that I'm saying, right? Like, it's just nothing new that I'm saying. People understand this. People understand this very well now. Um, but the other thing that I want to mention, uh, to continue with the wealth disparity, and we talked a little bit about it last week too. I think we are not in capitalistic system anymore, and it's and but one of the arguments is always like, well, if we're not in this system anymore, why don't we see it? Well, do you think, like, when we were moving away from the feudal system, when the Western society was moving away from the feudal system, like, was just one day people were like, woke up like, yeah, we're in capitalism now? It's never like that. It happens gradually, and it happens um, over decades. And I think it has been happening for decades. um, there's the ex minister of finance for Greece, and yes, I'm gonna mention the ex prime minister of finance from Greece, as if the country didn't just experience one of the worst economic things in the world. And why should anybody be listening to it? But we should like see what he has to say. His name was. Giannis, and I'm gonna butcher his last name, Varoufakis. He wrote a book on. The book is called "The Age of Techno Feudalism." I believe that's the title, but it's something feudalism. And he's talking about companies like Amazon, Facebook, Google, and all these X, if you want to include that in there, or Elon just itself, all his companies. They aren't companies anymore. They're not. They're empires. That's what it is. They're the new East India Company. If there's anybody from the Indian community, you understand what that reference means, right? They're the new East India Company. They control the flow of money, information, opportunity, anything you see. They control it. They control all of it. They decide what we see. They decide what we buy. They decide how we think. They even decide like how to use what we think to make more money for them. Uh, and they're completely unaccountable. Um, I know the EU and the US have started to go after some of these companies like Google, and trying to break up Google and trying to find Google. Um, but they've become so powerful that they are even rivaling governments, right? Uh, and they use it to stifle competition constantly. It's so hard to compete with as somebody coming up into this world. Either you're going to get bought by them, or you're going to get completely, they're just going to copy you and completely dominated by them. We need to break them up. And I am not against people making money from that point of view. I am against companies becoming so powerful that they start taking advantage of people. That's what I'm against. That's where government needs to come in. And as these companies become more and more and more and more and more powerful, they've started to infiltrate our government even a lot more. Our personal data needs to be protected. They shouldn't be allowed to use it to have such insane insights into our private life. And then we need to make sure that these companies serving the public good, right? When did Google and all these companies emerge? Right after the 2008 financial crisis, right? Uh, when the government bailed out these banks. Well, how do you bail out a bank? You give them more money. That's what they did. They took on their debt and then they gave them money. They didn't get accountable or any for it, right? And I have a bigger point to this, so stay with me. When these banks were bailed out, when they were given billions of dollars, trillions of dollars of injection to stay afloat, um, who did they lend out to? They kept doing the same thing. They did what banks were supposed to do, right? Like who did they lend out to? They weren't lending it out to car manufacturers. They weren't lending out to construction workers. They weren't lending out mortgage money, right? Why would they? Because like if a person can't even afford to like keep their home, you think they're buying a new car? So car manufacturers aren't making new cars, right? So where did that money go? They went to the tech sector. So our money that we gave to the government funded the research and funded and got invested into the tech sector. And that's where all these giant corporations they use that money. 100% they use that money from these banks, from the injection to save the banks to become so much popular. And I'm not saying that necessarily that was a bad thing, because there's a whole new industry that came out of it. AI came out of it. I'm sure hundreds and thousands of technical advances in medicine and other factors, physics, and they came out of it. I'm not saying that. My point in saying that is it's our money that created this beast in the Silicon Valley. It needs to serve the public. That's the whole point. All right. On to my favorite topic in this whole conundrum, because it's not always all bad, right? Like this is this. There's no problem in the world that serves uh, that gets that serves just a negative. There's always a positive, and there's always a solution to it, right? And I want to talk about immigration. Uh, Immigration isn't just this policy that we just talk about, isn't just this thing, that people use to um, and just earn votes and say it's a bad thing or a good thing. But and this is where I think a lot of Americans, and a lot of Americans see it that way, but they see it in the wrong way. Um, why is America special? And I think if you ask anybody that, they'll give you different answers, right? And this is why I think America is special. America is special because it has so many different colors. Because its conception is from immigration. You look at any other country in the world. You go to India, you'll find a ton of Indians. You go to Russia, you'll find a ton of Russians. You go to South Africa, you'll find South Africans. You go to Australia, you'll find Australians, right? You go to any other country, you're going to find the people of that country. You go to America, you can find any race, any religion, any color in this country. This is why this country is so good. This is why to keep this country that way is so important. This is why this country it is what it is today. Yes, broad stroke, we can talk about the horrible history of slavery, segregation, minority suppression. Like we could talk about that, yes, but this country is great because of immigration. It's just the backbone of America. It is the backbone of America. There's no denying that fact. As much as you hate and you want to be a racist, whatever, you can be whatever you want to be. You cannot deny that. From the gold rush towards California, and the Chinese immigrant, from the Irish immigrants coming in, to what's the island in New York, Staten Island, right? That's the island that where
Ellis
all the
Island?
people. Ellis Island. That's right. From war torn America, Europe. This country was built by the immigrants, and it should be for the immigrants, and I will die on that hill. Uh, and even can you look at Silicon Valley right now, or any companies right now, like out of the Fortune 500 companies, 45% are founded by immigrants or their children. Almost half of the countries in this America that are running this, that are bringing in value to this country, wouldn't exist without immigration. If you get rid of immigration, you're getting rid of those people. You understand? Uh, we're the narrative around immigration is to lean towards fear, misinformation, to try to turn this into conversations. Oh, look, they're coming to take something away from you. Um, it's just not true. It's just not true. They're coming to contribute, right? And you need people to come to America and contribute to the ideals of America. People coming in here. Yeah, and I just dropped my dad off yesterday. Right. Just a personal story. I just dropped my dad off at JFK, and he's going to India for a little bit. But I want to explain to you the journey that it takes from my house here to get to my house in India. Right. I leave Connecticut to go to JFK. If traffic is good, that's a 2.5 hour drive. You get through the airport, probably what, another hour and a half to get through security and everything, sit in the plane, take off. So where are we at? We're at 4 hours. The plane ride for him was almost 18 hours, 18 and a half hours. Well, let's call it 19 hours, whatever. 19 hours. We're at 23 hours right now. All right. Once he lands in Delhi, another 2 hours getting through immigration, getting through picking up your check. Where were we? 23, 25 hours now. From there, from there, from Delhi to all the way to my home in India, that's another 8 hours. That's another 8 hours. That's 33 hours. Do you understand? And it's nonstop. There's no break. You're flying in the air, and I hate it. Some people might like it. I fucking hate being in a plane, but being in the air for 19 hours is miserable as fuck. Like it's like your feet swell up. Like it's just horrible. Nobody is fucking, and that's the easiest fucking way to get to America, right? Like that's the normal easiest way. That's a 33 hour. My father came here almost 30 years ago with $1 in his pocket, right? Nobody took that. Like you didn't speak the language, you didn't speak any of that. He had $1 in his pocket, less than $1 in his pocket, away from his family, by himself in this foreign country to build a future here, to contribute. And now he owns two businesses, a house, cars, and he pays his taxes every year. He's contributing. He's hiring people to work for him of all race and colors. You understand? He contributed. He earned what he earned, as anybody should, but he contributed to this country. He didn't do it for the ha-has, take that 33-hour fucking flight just nonstop. He didn't do it for like, yeah, just because he wanted to fucking come steal something. No. He didn't do that. You know what I mean? He saw this as a land of opportunity, and then you have to create this as a land of opportunity. Right? How do you do that? You invest in your people. You invest in your country. Who are you people? Who are American people? Right? Like we can go into all that history. But American people are anybody that wants to come here and contribute to this ideal of being around other immigrants, being around other people. And that's the ideal. That's how I picture it. Right? And that's how we need to keep it, because these people are going to come in and be entrepreneurs, be inventors, be doctors, be teachers, be researchers, be essential workers. They're going to be our neighbors, friends, family. They're just people. Everybody's just a fucking person. Everybody's just human. No matter where you come from, you bleed the same thing. Your heart beats the same way. Everybody just wants to be left alone, do their thing, take care of their families. Nobody fucking wakes up and just like, yeah, I'm just gonna fucking hate America. Nobody does that, man. Like nobody does that. Right? No matter as much as we'd like to think that nobody does that. But we do need a fair and a humane immigration system. We need to have these people in here to take care and to build this. Um, to build this country to be more. Look at China. They're building these massive structures. You think robots are doing that? No, nobody fucking, no, people are doing that. People are doing that. People need to do that. Why are people doing that? Because the Chinese government makes sure that we're going to fund a project and it's going to get properly funded. It's not going to get fucking bogged down in some bullshit and halfway through it, we're just going to leave it or no. I see that. I see that happen in India when I go back. I've seen that happens. That 100% happens. There's a like a project gets improved, the elections happen, government changes, project is just sitting there. That's horrible. It's an inconvenience to people. All right, we need to focus. Congress here in America needs to focus on the fact, like, hey, we're gonna build this country, and it's gonna get funded, and it's gonna get built, and it's gonna build properly, and it's gonna be built to help the people. Right? Uh, my view, we need to embrace immigration. It's a blessing. That's how you need a more compassionate, more um, stronger country. It builds a stronger country. Right? Uh, that's the America I believe in. In America, where infrastructure is world class, where communities are vibrant, and it can be that way. Our workers are empowered. People are given their fair share. Where a CEO doesn't make 1,200% more than what they used to, and the workers stayed still the same. Where American family, what is the point? What that something somebody said this to me today. He's like, what is the point of being a first world country when you can't even have healthcare? Like, you might as well be a third world country. What makes you what makes you a first world country if your people can't even, yeah, make money? You don't need to make a fucking $1,000. Make like $10, $15, $100. You can do that, and you still make money because people need healthcare. You know, so just have affordable. It's not that hard. If you can spend $8 trillion in the last 14 years on fucking wars, you can spend on $8 trillion on affordable healthcare, housing, and education. You could do that. It's 100% possible. Um, have an America that innovates, that researches, that fuels education, that fuels technology, that fuels medicine, leads in all those categories. China is about to beat the U.S. in almost, if it already hasn't, in every single one of those categories. Why? Because they invest. They invest in their country. They saw that. They saw we need to do that. When America went to China after China became open to the world to, and it's in any MBA course. You take any MBA course in this country. I don't care if you go to UPenn, Harvard, Yale, whatever. They're gonna talk about China, and they're gonna talk about the fact that when China opened its doors, they limited their investments from other countries to certain regions, and those certain regions boomed. They took all that money that was coming in from across the world and it invested into their country. That's what they did. They made their country better. They invested. They made their people better. It made their people's lives better. Right? China has its own issues. We can talk about that later. But that's what they did. They invested into their country. They invested into their people, and that's what the United States knew and do, instead of waging wars on fucking Palestine, waging wars and all across the world. I think that's what needs to happen. You need to have you need to champion fairness over greed. You need to champion opportunity over fear. You need to champion peace over war. That's just what you need to do. That's my rant. That's my rant. So we're facing some significant issues, but there's solutions, because we just need to have a strong leader come in and then welcome people, bring innovation, bring labor into this country, build shit. Your roads shouldn't have fucking potholes if you want to be called a first world country. Your infrastructure, your bridges shouldn't be failing if you want to be called a first world country. Your people should be educated. Your people should be healthy if you want to be called a first world country. It's just that simple. And people need to recognize that. They need to see their history. They need to look at FDR. They need to look at all the shit that got done after the war, all the shit that got built, and how our grandparents and parents' life was made easier because of that. When these giant corporations were paying their fair share. Right? Don't tell me like, oh, corporations are going to come in and fucking create these jobs. Yeah, of course they're going to create these jobs, but they're fucking, look at Walmart. Half of their fucking workforce, more than half of their workforce, is on fucking EBT. Why? When they're the one of the biggest corporations in
Mhm.
the world. Why is that the case? Right? Something is wrong there. You have to explain to me, like, there's something is wrong there if you want to be called a first world nation. You have to do this. You have to do this.
Yep.
That is my rant. I've taken up all of our
Long enough
time,
rant.
but
No, it's okay.
it's
Like I said, we love a good
all
rant.
you.
Um, I enjoyed the uh 20th century history that we got in the middle of there. That was fun. A little rundown. No, but I do think you hit the nail sorry, hit the nail on the head
I
there.
hit the hill.
Um
That's right.
yeah, hit the nail. Hit the nail on the head there at the beginning. Just saying, understanding that people are frustrated, Americans are frustrated with just, in a generation, how much things have gone downhill and
Yeah.
how people don't feel like their lives are improving anymore. And I also understand, just like you said, how immigrants can be a natural scapegoat for that,
Yeah.
especially when there's all this propaganda, misinformation out there just saying they're either taking opportunities from you, they're taking your tax dollars in government assistance, or they're actually
They're
committing
not.
crimes against you. It's
They're
it's
not.
it's obviously going to result in the factions in
Mm.
society. And I mean, that's what they want, because we're focusing on that. We're focusing on race rather than um, class consciousness, rather than allying and seeing um, the comparative strife between us and people that may not look like us but are in the same economic class or educational class or social class as us.
Yeah.
um, which is hard for people who grew up being taught that America has no class. Like, but
Yeah.
it's right there. It's in front of. If somebody who lives in the same country as you has $240 billion,
All right.
and you are struggling to make your mortgage, there's a class system there.
Yes.
Um, so I mean, that just, yeah, I think that plays a lot into where we are now. I liked your, I did like your, like personal story when it comes to immigration, and I thought that was really kind of uplifting. I guess on my personal side of it, I'm a red blooded third generation New Englander.
Yeah. There you
So
go.
what basically that means,
Go Patriots.
what that means, I mean, you mentioned Ellis Island. New England in the United States is, I guess, unique in the way, the white people there, we're Irish and we're Italian, right? That's what we came through. That's why we're here, and we're proud of it. And
Yeah.
I mean, just now living in the South, I know, like, there's no like scientific backing for this or sociological backing that I
Yeah.
have
Yeah. Yeah.
seen, but I've always thought it was interesting how in New England it's like common when you meet someone new to ask them what their like what their ethnicity is, or what their, like, where their family comes from. And that's considered rude literally everywhere else in this country. I
Really?
didn't know that. Yeah, yeah, you just don't ask, because I think most people don't really know, because it's not that recent for a lot of people. Um, so I just saying that, just from where, like, I come from, that being a point of pride, say, like, I know where my ancestors came from and how they got there. I mean, ancestors is a loose word considering I knew them. They were alive,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but they one of them just died like 4 years ago. Like, it wasn't that long ago. Like,
Yeah.
so why is
Ancestors,
my,
we pray to you.
like, right? Like, just saying, my claim to the country is so much, better than yours is
Right.
crazy to me.
Yes.
But along that same lines, I mean, people who have the same exact, like, coming to America story that I do, they'll sit here and say, well, my ancestors came here the right way. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, your grandpa slipped through Ellis Island, gave them the wrong name, came
Right.
here, made your grandma learn English, and he never did. And, like,
Right.
maybe never even became a citizen. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's hugely different. And if it was after the Ellis Island days, I mean, those restrictions were still so much easier for people who came from Europe than who came from anywhere else. So it's just, I feel like my favorite word on this podcast is disingenuous. But I'm
Mm.
gonna say it again.
Okay.
It's just a disingenuous argument,
It
I
is.
feel like.
It is.
Um, and not to make this sound like just an in-class reaction, but you talked about, like, calling ourselves a first world country but having these sort of um
Third world structures.
economical issues that we yeah, terrible
Yeah.
infrastructures that we do. I mean, I didn't really see that. Like, I have always thought that, we could be better as a country, we could allocate our money better, we could do more to help people. And I always was cognizant that there was a lot of suffering in this country, but I didn't really see it until I worked in housing.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know like desperate until you work with somebody who's experiencing homelessness,
Yeah.
because there was, I mean, just one example. Um, I picked up a client to go look at an apartment one day, and she had her daughter with her, like her 1 year old baby. And we went to go look at this apartment, and then it ended up being like, I don't know, something wasn't going to work out with it. I think the landlord changed their mind. They don't want to work with the program. Either way, she wouldn't have been able to move in that day anyway. But my point is that after we left this appointment, she's in my car, right? She's like, she told me that her mom said that she can't come back to her apartment. So she's not in a shelter. She can't go to her mom's house. She has no home. She has no other family support. She has no friend support because she's exhausted all of that already. And so I have a 24-year-old woman and a 1 year old in my car, and I have nowhere to bring them. So, and it's just like, like situations like that happen so often. So it's like, and I'm saying this as the social worker. I got to go home and sleep in a bed that night, like
Yeah.
as the person experiencing that, it's like in the richest country in the world, we have somebody who has to sleep on the street with her daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna just to I guess save myself. I figured out something for her. I
Yeah.
found some hotel funds, but that's short term,
Yeah.
and that's just because she happened to be somebody who was working with a resource.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's hundreds of other people probably that same
Thousands.
exact night who
Thousands.
didn't have a resource and
Yeah.
did sleep on the street with their 1 year old.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, in what you're calling yourself a first world country, it's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. In what way? In what way are you that? You're not. When you hear stories like that, right? You're
Right.
not. Because I've seen that in India all the time. So, and we love to call India a third world country, right? But you're in the same boat.
Right.
You're in the same boat. So what makes you different?
And
No,
to not even be
just because
trying
you're white.
to fix it, really. I
Right.
mean,
Right. Right.
criminalizing it,
Yeah.
we saw that this year.
We love the Supreme Court. We love the Supreme
We
Court
love
for
them.
that. Yeah,
They've
they're
done
great. They're not awesome.
amazing things this year.
Yes.
Yeah. We're
Yes.
being sarcastic.
Yes. Very much
Um,
so.
but yeah, I mean, just to do things to make it worse rather than better is a little
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. And, and to like to really hammer the point home, my father's story is honestly the better story. Right? People walk here. I know of people that have told me stories where they've had to trek through thousands of miles and people died
Hmm.
died next to them because things were so cold. Uh, to even get here, right? I I won't mention the person's name or anything like that. He told me that he made his way to Europe, through like Romania and all these other countries, and like it got so cold one night. Like there's like a 15-year-old girl with them, just trekking through like fucking, if like like it's so fucking ruthless when you're like if you get hurt or your leg get hurt, they just leave you. They don't try to help you. They just leave you. And this happened to this 15-year-old girl where she sprained her ankle walking on a rock, and luckily these people that she was with, these four guys that were young, that were healthy, they carried her all the way, just to get
Wow.
help. They just carried her all the way.
Hmm.
Like what choice did this 15-year-old really make, right? Because her mom wanted her mom died on the way. Her mom just died just at night. They didn't pack. They weren't going camping. They weren't packing sleeping fucking gear. You know what I mean? And you can hear that story and go, well, why didn't she come just the regular way? You know how expensive it is to apply for visas, or that's just one side of the story. Like right? Like how
And a lengthy
expensive it is,
process.
and how long it is. What if they don't have that time? What if they're getting targeted by ISIS? What if they're getting targeted by these gangs in South America, right? That are about to either come into your house and rape you because you didn't give them the $200 or whatever money they asked for, or they hit on you, and these mothers are so scared for their life. And the United States has played a big part in destabilizing a lot of these countries, right? But you don't maybe you don't have that time to apply for that visa, or the researcher to apply for that visa, when tomorrow there's like men coming into your house, killing your husband, raping you over and over again. You
Right.
don't have time for that, right? You have to think about that. You don't have to think about, these people aren't coming in here traveling thousands of miles by foot because they felt like it. They don't leave everything behind because they just wanted to come and, like, there's this fucking Billy Bob in America sitting in fucking Connecticut. I need his job. No, that's not what they're here for. They're here to make a better life for themselves, and in terms, they will contribute to this country and make it better. I think.
Well, that's the problem with all the dehumanizing propaganda.
Right,
I mean,
right, right. But but we want to leave this country and go to Mexico and fill those towns, and we'll call ourselves expatriates.
right,
Shut the fuck
right.
up. Shut the fuck up. Just call yourself what you are, a racist. You know what I mean? Like, you think that's okay, but it's not okay the other way around. Why? It's nuts. Anyways, let's go on to your
Crazy.
quickly. I want to talk about your, because I am very curious about it. Your 14th Amendment. Hit me in 5 minutes. What you got? I know you want to go. Unless you don't have to,
Sure.
then I'm more than welcome to stay for a little bit. But hit me with it. What is
No,
the
I can.
14th
That's fine.
Amendment?
Oh, I'm glad I'm welcome to stay. Um, yeah.
Hey,
So
you're
basically, it's
I'm
just
welcome to do this for as long as you need to do. You're the one that placed the shackles of time constraint on me. I'm putting it all in
oh,
your cart. Go
jeez.
for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit of a possible where we go from here. So I read an article that was
I'm
an
sorry.
article
Before you
about
before before you
an
before you
op-ed.
go,
Oh,
before you go, if it wasn't already blaringly clear, we don't like Trump. We don't like Democrats either, but we don't like Trump. So this conversation is going to go into that point. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, you're good. We got 5 people here.
Yeah.
Uh, you would sit here. Do you know this person? You
Who?
would sit here for hours and debate if you could.
Yes, I know. I play with her all the time. She's from
Okay.
Australia, and I wanted to talk about her with you, but I'll text you later.
Okay. Okay. So basically, the short of it is just that, yeah, potential where we might go from here. There was an op-ed. Oh, legal experts did put an op-ed in the Hill. I don't know when it was, maybe a couple weeks ago or a week ago or
Oh,
something.
it's an
Uh,
actually publication. Somebody actually really did this, not a TikTok somebody made in their basement.
yeah, no, this is in the news. This yeah,
This is news.
this
Okay, okay,
so
okay, okay.
so
All right.
the op-ed by the legal experts was in the Hill. I'm reading a Newsweek article that's just summing it up because
Okay.
I didn't see the op-ed first. I did see no, it was in a podcast that I listened to that this was brought up.
Okay.
But basically, I want to find the text of it real quick. But basically, there's a possibility that the 14th Amendment could be used to say that Trump isn't eligible to be the
You heard it
president.
here, folks. On all the factors, we are doing our own January 5th, January 6th. So you better show up, book your hotels. We're going to be
We're gonna
there.
do it on January
We're
5th. No, no,
we are
no.
storming the Capitol. That's what's happening. It's co-sponsored by Annette Heiler. Go ahead.
Hey, please don't, please don't do that.
It's all jokes. I'm sorry. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Okay, I'm going to read what it says. So, this section of the 14th Amendment says no person shall hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. So, essentially, the argument is that Trump clearly was involved in an insurrection. On January 6th of 2021. So basically, the writers of this op-ed are saying that Democrats would have justification to refuse to certify. the election, the 2024 election, um, on you know, January January 6th, 2025, because of that. Um, so essentially, it would render Trump ineligible to be the president. So they wouldn't certify the election. So, I mean, essentially from here, it's if they do that, which some people argue that it might be a good show of um, resistance just to do it, just to show, we think that there is some sketchiness. We don't believe you should be president, especially on top of some recent election interference information from Iran and Russia and all that sort of stuff. Just it's just really would just be a symbolic Democrats putting their foot
Yes.
down, saying we
Yeah.
don't support this administration.
Yes.
Um, would it go anywhere? Probably not, because it would then go to the Supreme Court, who would just say fuck
You have
off.
no authority. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What,
But
what are you
I mean,
bringing this
it
here? We
is.
got a TikTok to deal with. We got a TikTok case here. What are you doing? Bringing an actual fucking topic to us? Shit. Fuck out of here.
I mean, it is interesting. So I did just want to bring it up because it's just an interesting kind of piece that of news that came up this week that may have
Yeah.
been lost in everything that has been happening. Because I mean, we can talk about a tiny bit. We've had an extremely violent start to the year here in this country. I mean, everybody knows about what happened in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Um, on
Insane
New,
shit.
yeah, early in the morning on New Year's Day, and then I mean, since then we've had, what was it? A man caught with like a bunch of bombs and stuff in Las Vegas, and
Yeah.
then where was the shooting this morning?
In New York or
New
Jersey.
York. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's just been crazy. So I just wanted to highlight this so that it didn't get lost. It is something that we might see. So look out to see if we get any interesting behavior from the Democrats. I mean, I don't think that doing that would be January 6th level, but I definitely think if they did do it, it would be reported on and
Yeah.
discussed that way. It would be as if we are
Did our
holding
January
up
6th.
the original Constitution and just ripping it in half, even though this is literally taken from like
Yeah.
verbiage directly from the Constitution.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like the people that wrote this op ed are arguing that, I mean, that they actually have the duty to do this as, as elected officials, they are like, it is their duty to defend the Constitution. So, I mean, it's interesting. We might see some interesting stuff. I don't think so, because we've become this party of decorum, this party of we're better than that. We don't do that. That's them, not us. So I mean, I don't know. I can't really decide if I would like to see it or not. I mean,
You don't
it's-
want to see AOC storming the Capitol? What are you talking about? I need Nancy Pelosi in the front line with a broken hip. Chuck Schumer right behind her holding a shield, putting on a Viking helmet, breaking down the barriers. That's what I need in my life.
she's just like lifting her leg over the steps.
Cory Booker in there. Throw Cory Booker in there. Yeah, Jasmine Crockett. I need her in there. Please.
Oh man,
Please.
I love Jasmine Crockett. The way
I,
she responds to things
yeah,
is
yeah.
pretty amazing.
And you know what makes it better? I need Marjorie Taylor Greene just standing at the doorway, just fully geared up. You're not getting in. I need my president. This is my president. Please, please don't do this.
You go, girl, from the back line.
I just,
She'd be in there. She'd be in there for sure.
I just need that. Can we do like a AOC MTG pay-per-view fight? I want to see that.
I mean, yeah, I think we need it as a country. I think it would be very healing
It
for
would be
us.
super healing to see Marjorie Taylor Greene just get an app. Did you see a TikTok of her of like on America's Got Talent?
No.
Yes, that's a thing.
Oh
That's
no,
a thing.
that was fake. I did
Was
see that.
it?
You sent that to me. That was not her. That was fake.
Oh, why would you do that to me? Why
I'm
would you
sorry. If
ruin
you
that
were,
for me?
oh, okay, never mind. I mean,
It's real.
what do I
It's
know? How
real
do I
in my
know it's fake?
mind. It's
There you
real
go.
in my
You're right.
mind. because that was
And I
quite
think it was
fucking
American Idol.
embarrassing. Holy shit! Yeah, whatever, whichever the fuck. America Got Talent. There was no talent there, anyways. There was no idol there, anyways.
No,
It was
no.
something.
Last
All
week when
right.
we did, maybe next year instead of like trying to do a good news episode at the end, we should do just like
AI
our
is tricky.
favorite our favorite political clapbacks from the year. And that way we could have had a good laugh about bleach blonde, bad built, butch body. Because I'll never forget it.
the the
I can't even
greatest
say it
thing.
as
No,
quickly
no,
as
no.
she did.
Listen to
I had to like bop 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 bop.
me. Listen to me. Of all the speeches, all the State of the Unions, all the things, all the diplomats, all the presidents that have ever said anything on the floors of Congress at the U.S. Capitol, that by far is the best thing I've ever said. Infinitely, nothing can beat that. Nothing can beat that.
The only thing to fear is fear itself, and then right next to it, bleach blonde, bad built, butch body.
That's it. Beach blonde,
Followed
bad,
by
butch
ask
body.
not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
The bangers coming out of AOC. Please. Just in cursive letters as you walk into the Capitol. That just needs to be on there.
Mm-hmm. No,
Please.
I agree. I agree.
Please. AOC, if you're listening to me, if you're listening to this, please just print out a big banner of just those exact words. Just
Well, it was Jasmine
put them
Crockett
right
that said
outside of
that.
your office.
We need to give the proper
Oh, who said
credit
that?
where it's due. It was Jasmine Crockett.
Oh, it was Jasmine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, you're fine. I mean,
Oh,
AOC
AOC tweeted it, didn't she? Okay.
oh, I'm sure. She probably retweeted
I
it.
think
Yeah.
I think that's where I first saw it on AOC's tweet. But Jasmine Crockett, if you're listening to me, please, please, hey, Annette, pray with me. Put the hands up. Pray with me.
Okay. Sure.
Jasmine Crockett, if you're out there, please save us.
Please save
Please,
us.
please save us.
No.
Joe Biden is ruining this country. Jasmine
I can't wait
Crockett,
to put
please.
this video on the internet forever.
Trump is coming. Please, Jasmine Crockett, please.
Oh my god.
Anyways, anything else you want to say?
Um, I think that's it.
Okay.
I think we're good.
If you guys missed my America rant, and what I think needs to be done for the country, please elect me as your next president. It's not possible. You can't do that. Uh, if you've missed it, please follow us on all the factors on YouTube. And we are certainly slacking on other social medias, but we will get there. We'll be on there, but we are all the factors on everything.
New year, new all the factors. We're gonna be our
Yes,
best selves this year.
we are absolutely gonna smash. We we will have a guest next week. Um, we're meeting on the 8th, January 8th. Please put that in your calendar.
Mhm.
We're meeting with a guest. She is a excellent person, uh, and she is an excellent doctor of psychology, and she has her own practice. Um, with active client, and she's overwhelmed with a lot of clients, which you'll also mention too. Um, you know, the state of mental health in America is quickly deteriorating. But we're gonna have her. That's a different topic. Let me not go there. But we're gonna have her on our stream, and we're gonna ask her some questions about healthcare. Since it was such a hot topic after the adjuster did what he did, and she's gonna be our first guest. So please come there and have some questions for her in the stream. I have some questions for her to lead the conversation. She'll be here for a quick hot second, um, 15-20 minutes or whatever she feels comfortable with. Really, she's taking time out of her busy work schedule and booking me in there. So I'm really excited to have Dr. Sorillo. Um, in the stream next week, please do join us. And again, if you've missed anything that we talked about in the last hour and a half, you can definitely find us on YouTube, where we post all these streams, everything we talked about, all the factors, and other social medias will be up and running soon. You're joined by Nav and
Annette.
yeah, that was too long of a pause, but
No,
yes,
no,
Annette.
sorry. That was because I was actually
What, did you
watching
forget
the
your
stream.
name? What's
No,
going
no,
on?
no. It's because I was watching the stream and I was seeing your mouth move, and I thought I was expecting more words to come,
Why
and
were
I
you
didn't want to.
watching the stream when I say Nav and you're here listening to me actively live? Why?
I don't
We
know.
will work on this stuff, people. We will have this be a better shape. I'm good. My partner, not so much, but we will be get there. I'm throwing her under the bus. I don't care.
All right. Yep. Okay.
Uh, do you have any media recommendations you want to let the good people of Twitch know?
Um,
Do you have any?
I well, I guess I read Ina Garden's memoir this week.
Okay.
If you don't know who she is,
I don't know who she is.
She's like a Martha Stewart type, basically. Cookbook author, then cooking show host, and but she's the lady that is like known for going, how easy was that? She's just like kind of an old white lady from the Hamptons, and everything's just kind of fabulous when she touches it.
You
But
know, that's what I will say when I get elected governor of Connecticut and I fix all the issues. How easy was that?
how easy was that? No, but it was actually it was a really nice read. You have to be. I mean, the headspace of it is that this is a mostly privileged woman who has
Yeah,
the memoir is called "Be There When the Luck Happens." I mean, going through it, I can never take my social worker like hat off. So the way I like reading through it, I'm just like, a lot of these things worked out for you because your family was wealthy and you had some connections and your husband was wealthy. but I mean, that's not to say, I mean, but at the same time, um, you know, this was a woman paving a way for herself with, independently making her own money, making her own businesses through the 60s and onward,
yeah,
um, which, in and of itself, even with those privileges, was a difficult thing to do.
sure.
She talked about her childhood a little bit. She did have experience, emotional and physical abuse from her parents. So it wasn't
Yeah,
a perfect life, um, but just I thought it was a good book just because it was lighthearted in a way, but also did highlight how she overcame like the sexism of her time that was mostly telling her get married, have a family,
yeah,
listen to your husband, and don't do anything for yourself.
yeah,
She rejected those things and life worked out for her. But at the same time, she's not like bitter about anything that she experienced. I mean, I think like the overarching kind of one of the overarching themes of this book is actually that she is like what it's like to genuinely be best friends with her spouse, and I loved that aspect
that's
of it.
nice.
It was very cute and very sweet.
Yeah,
So I don't know, it's not political, it's not really even relevant, but
yeah,
I enjoyed it, so I'm talking about it. How about
yeah.
you?
So I have a TikTok. Well, not necessarily a TikTok. They're kind of everything, and it's kind of what I listen to a lot for um, lot business stuff, a lot of what's happening in the business world, the law world, the general news of thing, and they really talk about just the nuances of the world that's happening. I'm talking about Planet Money. It's a
Mm,
podcast by NPR. They're on TikTok. I really recommend following their TikTok, but they're on Spotify and public radio, anywhere you can find them, really. But their TikToks are really, really cool. They explain like a lot of complicated stuff, like bottlenecking and supply chain tariffs and all this stuff, but in a funny, Gen X kind of, Gen Z kind of way. They do these little, cool little edits. They're really cool, but they're really informing you, and majority of the time they're unbiased. One of my favorite podcasts they did, and we talked about it in the stream, was their interview with the three economists that won the Nobel Prize Peace Prize, Nobel Economy Prize, or what would they call it, the Economist Prize, whatever, Nobel Prize in economy, last year. So their interview is really cool. if you want to go and actually hear from them themselves. Their interview is really, really, really fun. That's kind of how I found them. But they talk about a ton of other stuff. It's just called Planet Money. Find it anywhere. Really cool. Uh, that's what I had.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you guys for coming in the stream. I know this is a political stream, but I also stream like video game stuff. I play a bunch of stuff. So if you guys want to join, I'll be live in probably like 30, 40 minutes. Please drop a follow. Love to have you. And play some games. I'll be live there. But as I've said, we'll have a stream with a guest next week. We do this once a week, hoping to do it more often to bring, you know, news to you, analysis to you, personal stories to you from our lives that we've experienced. Like Annette was just mentioning, she has background in social work and she's currently working with AI and government. We're gonna bring a variety of different topics to you guys, and hopefully we do it with a smile and a little bit of tequila on the side. Uh, thank you guys for coming. Hopefully, we'll see some of you guys next week. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. We're all the factors, and this is it for week number 7. See you guys next
Alrighty.
week.
Good
Bye.
night.